Right.
Can I
Please.
start my
Yeah.
presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, the Honorable Supervisor, Dr. Muhammad Nizam Hussein, and then also Co-Supervisor, Dr. Aditya Aziz, and then an Honorable, my Assessor, Professor Dr. Samsul Anwar Mokhtar, and then also Dr. Siti Haryani Sheikh Ali. Thanks for time given to me. I am Rudi Susanto from Solo, Indonesia. I am a student PhD MIIT University Kuala Lumpur. In this opportunity, I will like to present about my proposal with a title, A Model for the Development of Portable Laboratory with Integrated Local System, PLILW for Physics Education. This is my content of my presentation. One is about introduction, and then problem statement, and then research question, and then research objective, and then research outcome, and then research methodology, and then primary research, and then the last is publication. Okay, allow me to start with the integration. To start to introduction. In the 21 student learning, the use of laboratory in physics learning is widely recommended because it is seen a fundamental tool for understanding physics phenomena and then underlying theoretical concept. This that by Thomas et al. In 2017. And then there are also, moreover, blend of technology in the learning will further improve the quality of learning by Lin Hong et al. In 2017 too. And then there are also in additional swasta in 2015 reported that learning potential in the physics component and the national character can be developed through local culture-based physics instructional development. But in Indonesia, in 21 student learning have many problems based on the literature. Indonesia encounter particular challenge due to poor network system and then shortage of information communication technology equipment. And then Danjuma also, moreover, Danjuma also stated that the big obstacle of the effective teaching of physics was not the lack of necessary laboratory facilities and infrastructure, but the lack of use. And then Indonesia also faced a moral crisis that is a very dangerous and threatening for young generation, stated by Astra 2018. Okay, there are physics laboratory ability in Indonesia based on data. Almost senior high school and university have a physics laboratory. State by Katilin that senior high school in Jemberana Regency, Bali Province have a 22.96% physics laboratory, and then senior high school in Bengkulu Province by Putri et al. In 2017 have 80%, and then University in Indonesia also have a 88.2% of laboratory. The data from my survey from 17 university from 9 provinces in Indonesia. But the intensity of using laboratory based on existing study is low, is very low. State by Katili et al., the State Senior High School in Jemberana, Bali, Regency, only use 12.08% intensity of using laboratory. And then also State by Yanti et al. In 2017, Senior High School in Jember Regency, East Java Province, only use 58.22%. And then in Indonesia High School, as by Ismail et al. In 2019, only use 15.67% laboratory physics. And the law of the intensity of using laboratory cause effect of the student learning outcome was low under linear correlation that we Kateli et al. And Vatimena. And then why in the region the intensity of using laboratory is very low, and the reason is about the not enough time, and then teacher lack creativity in compiling practicum design and develop equipment, and then the laboratory is used as a classroom, and then insufficient number of set of physics practicum tool and facility. And then the region become underlying ground to develop information technology based laboratory. And then based on existing theory, there are information technology based laboratory based subvention based on the framework for technology enhanced laboratory. Subvention divide for kind of information technology based laboratory. There are microcomputer based laboratory or MBL, and then simulation or virtual reality, and then remote laboratory, and then augmented reality, and then AR. In the right side, we can see in figure 1, there are conventional pressure laws setup, experimental setup, and then the figure 2, we can see a MBL apparatus for studying the gas pressure law in physics course. There is about MBL. MBL from the picture we know contain a computer, and then data logger, and then sensor. Sensor in the picture have two. There are pressure sensor and then temperature sensor. Okay. Also, based Vengen et al. In 2012, based on the framework for technology enhanced laboratory, shown that MBL great potential to development. We can see in the table, MBL compare with the another kind of the information technology based laboratory. There are simulation and then remote laboratory, and then AR. That MBL have great potential in many category, like support to learning activity, and then support to open query, and then way to conducting, and then additional objective like a cognitive, affective, and psychomotoric with compare in another kind. And the disadvantage of MBL based on the table is cost per use is high. Okay, and then and another existing research. Advantage of MBL can follow the point. One is students spend more time for analysis to form scientific knowledge be funda uptaken, and then real-time display, and then MBL can be applied in university, and then high school, and then and another level. But MBL is not perfect. MBL need a modification to optimization, learning objective, and then technology, and then local condition by Tinker and Arif. And then also to answer the challenge industrial revolution 4.0. To fill the gap, it is I am a promote to portable laboratory with a characteristic. Portable laboratory small in dimension and adaptable for being used in various places and classroom, and then suitable for online learning, and then allow students to take home laboratory equipment to complete their experiment on their own time, and then also low cost. Stated Abdullah et al. In 2018. Okay, we move to next slide. In the next slide, I will talk about the local wisdom. Successful of the basic learning process can be obtained when the daily life of learner integrated into the local in the learning process, especially in the local wisdom of the region. We can see in the right side, and there are the example of the local wisdom, and there are rebab, and then andong, and then the sitar. Okay, especially in Java. Okay, and then local wisdom defined as the value of a knowledge in society and that have been validated, tested in the distinct local context by Husna and Koswanto in 2018. And then many concepts of local wisdom that still apply in society can be used to support learning, Kasiman et al. In 2012. And then many studies about the integration of local wisdom in teaching and learning showed that can improve student ability and support learning. The study by Kasiman et al., Husna, and Koswanto. Okay, next, there are example about the local wisdom, especially in Java, Indonesia. There are a couple otok-otok, and then Jembaringan, and then Andong, and then Rebab, and then Sitar, and then Kincir Angin. Andong, Rebab, Sitar. We can see the picture in the previous slide. Okay, couple otok-otok based on Fitriani et al. 2016 can be used to deliver basic concept about the Newton law and then Archimedes law. And then Jembaringan can be used to deliver the basic concept about the parabolic motion vector analysis, and then pressure on solid, and then elasticity, and then energy in the spring, and then impulse and momentum, and then the Indonesia has have many local wisdom. Okay, based on the my previous explanation, and then I promote to combine about the portable laboratory and then local wisdom, become a portable laboratory with integrated local wisdom, as we can call the PLILW. The expected outcome of the PLILW can follow the criteria, like can use in the various place and classroom, and then analysis of practical result can be combined with theory indirectly in the classroom, and then student can take home laboratory equipment to complete their to complete experiment on their own time, and then suitable for online learning, low cost, and then the content of local wisdom in portable laboratory product will be contribute to student character building. Okay, there are problem statement. The problem statement is about the lack of creativity in compiling practicum design and development equipment, and then the cost of the low intensity of using laboratory, and then cause the student learning outcome was low. And then also the issue that the learning potential in basic competence and national character can be developed through local wisdom. Okay, we go to research question. Research question in my thesis. One is what the model of PLILW for teaching and learning basic, and then how to develop prototype of PLILW for teaching and learning basic, and then how significant the difference of students' character and ability before and after to the use of PLILW. And then a correlation with research question, there are research objective. One is design a model for PLILW for teaching and learning basic, and then develop a prototype of PLILW for teaching and learning basic, and then compare student character and ability level before and after use PLILW. There are the expected research outcome. One is the result of the research are a model of PLILW for teaching and learning basic, and then PLILW will contribute to develop of education technology and learning model of inquiry in basic learning, and then the PLILW will be a breakthrough in the integration of lecture in the theory and practice, which have been a fundamental problem in learning, especially in learning basic. In addition, the content of local wisdom of portable product will contribute to student character building. Okay, we next to research methodology. In the research methodology, we'll have 4 stages. There are data collection and analysis, and then model design, and then model implementation, and the last is verification and validation. Data collection will be acquired from a student and lecturer using questionnaire. A student from Duta Bangsa University, approximately 200 students, and then a lecturer from several university in Indonesia, approximately 20 lecture. And then analysis, based on data and literature, we analysis, and then the result is the PLILW development requirement. And then we go to model design. In the model design, we get the PLILW requirement from the previous states, and then literature review, and then local wisdom. We analysis based on the state. We get a model for the development of portable laboratory with integrated local wisdom, or PLILW. And then the next step is building prototype, and then validation and evaluation I will be explained in the next slide. Okay, the model I am proposed that there are PLILW essential element have 5 element. There are about the portable laboratory, and then a local system based learning model, and then experimental basic, and then instructional design theory and model, and then instructional technology development theory. Based on the essential element PLILW, and then we create a prototype. On the create prototype, we use a combine about the RDDI model, and then input process output model, and then become a model for development of PLILW. Okay, next is model implementation. Development prototype of PLILW to proof of the concept. Various reference that by and then Hidayanti, and then Asraf, and then Narhasana state that the chief laboratory are developed based on the LabVIEW and Arduino. So the prototype on the thesis will develop using Arduino and LabVIEW, and then sensor, and then local wisdom to deliver basic subject like circular motion and so on. And then we go to verification and validation. The verification and validation based on Tesmer, and based on Tesmer, and then the state have 5 state. One is self evaluation state. In the state, I am using checklist of important characteristic and or design specification, and then one-to-one evaluation. In the state, we use 10 students in informatic engineering department at Duta Bangsa University and the lecture to get empirical validation, and then expert review. The expert review with 3 expert review, physicist, instructional technology expert, and then physical computing expert to get the theoretical validation. And then the next step is the small group state. In the small group state, we use 1 class in the informatic and engineering department at the Duta Bangsa University to measuring about the practicality and the effectiveness characteristic of PLILW. And then the last field test will be held in informatic engineering and computer engineering at Duta Bangsa University, approximately 200 students for measure ability and character of the student. And then there are my primary research. The primary research to obtain data of need and opinion to develop PLILW for teacher gained from questionnaire. The results shown that the 93.63% of lecture agree and strongly agree to develop PLILW. And then the primary research primary research to obtain data of need and opinion to develop PLILW from student gained from questionnaire. The result shown that the 84.79% student agree and strongly agree to develop PLILW. And then there are my primary research about a mock-up of PLILW using a kapal otak-otak, and then I developed using Arduino, Levio, kapal otak-otak sensor to deliver basic concept about circular motion. And then I do experiment. There are my picture. The experiment, and then I am get data. You can see in the graph data about the period and the round. From the data, we can use, or a student will be use the data to analyze of characteristic the motion of kapal otak-otak in the circular path, and then the motion on the uniform or ununiform based on the speed can be analyzed using the diagram. Okay, and then this my publication. One is the effect of the integration of local wisdom in basic educational application of review. Presented in International Conference on Science Education and Technology 2020, and then development of portable laboratory with integrated local wisdom for basic educational based on lecture and student opinion in International Conference of Information and Communication Technology 2021. The paper is still on process, and then there are my reference that I use in the presentation. And then thank you for attention. I open for critique, suggestion, and then question. Thank you very much for attention.
Right. Thank you, Rudy, for your presentation. We'll open the floor now for questions from the assessors.
Okay. Okay, Rudy Susanto, congratulations for having presented today, because not many students have the courage to present. Sometimes they wait until the last minute to present, which is not a good thing. So this is good for you. But okay, is the video okay? Or should I hide my video? Is the video?
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay, because okay. So I am more familiar, comfortable if people see my face. Okay, so basically, I think what we'll do is that we are going to give you some comments. So hopefully that with these comments, you can use this to improve your research, because I think this is a very important stage. Because after this, if something goes wrong, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually to go back and to undo. So, but basically, do not worry about whether you are pass or fail in terms of defense. Okay? So because my concern is more on to give you input, okay, based on my sincere view of things, and also my colleague Dr. Siti Haryani. So Dr. Siti Haryani is actually Dr. Siti Haryani is actually PhD in education, right? Dr. Siti Haryani?
Yes.
PhD in education instructional technology.
This is my area.
So she is an expert. Okay, I myself actually in computer science, software engineering and information system, but I was a teacher teaching physics, chemistry, and math. So basically these are the things, and I actually has been involved with this kind of research a long time. Okay, so basically can you share again your presentation PowerPoint? So I think I would like to start off from the beginning. So we will give some our views, and of course, Dr. Siti Harani also will give her views based on the sequence of the presentation. Okay, so basically, okay, can you actually enlarge or not zoom in? Not zoom, just a slideshow. Okay, based on the title, okay, of course, the first thing that we see is the title here. Now, based on the title, what is actually your main contribution? Okay, main contribution of knowledge that actually that contributes to your PhD. So what is just one? What is the main contribution actually?
My main contribution is about the model for development of portable laboratory with integrated local wisdom.
That's the title. So meaning that the main contribution now is the model, right?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
the model. So the rest are all contribution, but that is secondary. So the primary is the model.
Okay.
Now here, the model, you write within the title, model for development of portable laboratory. So meaning that development of portable laboratory is the process. So are you actually are you proposing a model for the process of development, or the model for the actual lab, or application? So the portable lab itself. So model for the portable lab or model for development of portable lab. So you see, there's a difference. Development is a process. Developmental process is like agile. It's like rapid development. So are you going to for the portable lab, or the model for the development of the portable lab?
Based on title is the model for development of portable lab.
Okay. So if that is the case, so actually, you are going to focus on the technique. Okay, the technique of how to develop. So similar to, like, for example, now there is a waterfall model, there is eddy model. Okay, like you just mentioned just now, there is agile model. Okay, there are many types of developmental model. So you are coming up with a new developmental model, but this is to cater for the portable lab. So is that what you are trying to highlight? Because if that is the case, it is not consistent with what you are presenting in your presentation.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Doctor. I get it.
What did you get?
My thesis is about create a model for development of portable laboratory. So I must be focused to how to develop of PLILW, like AGI model, ADI model, and another model. So I want to develop a new model about develop of PLILW.
So meaning that you are focusing on the process itself, meaning that, for example, you have ADDIE, ADDIE, like you mentioned just now. That is one developmental model. It is called the ADDIE model. Okay, for example. So you are going to come up with something which is different from the ADDIE model. So is that what you are trying to do? Because what I'm asking you here is that basically trying to figure out your contribution. Is it on the developmental model, okay, or is it on the actually the portable lab model? So meaning that there are two. So Dr. Nizam, do you understand what I'm highlighting, Dr. Nizam?
Yes, exactly, Prof. Yes, I think we kind of miss out the word development. So actually, in my understanding, it is the other way lah. So it is not on the development itself, because the development is part of
the process.
The process. So it is the whole thing, I think. So it is actually the model of the
portable lab
laboratory itself. Yeah. So the whole thing. So development, we just use whatever development model which already there, and a mix or a hybrid of development model, and then we put that, and then more than that actually. So I think
yes.
Maybe it's the development of a model for portable laboratory. This is what we are.
Yeah, that's why we are asking the candidate, because basically, because the way that he responded just now, you see everything inside is not consistent. So that's why we try to understand. But based on the content, like I think that similar to what Dr. Nizam has suggested just now, is about the portable lab rather about the development, because it does not matter whether you use ID model for develop or you want to use rapid prototyping or agile or whatever. It does not matter to you. Okay, what's matter is the model for the portable lab. So Rudy, so betul
Okay, I get.
Okay.
Cut for this Rudy afterwards, yeah.
Dr. Siharani, so kita baru kat depan ni.
In my view, I've got another concern actually, because I was thinking, is it a model for portable lab, or is it a conceptual model that include the local wisdom? Because your model is integrated with the local wisdom. So what are the local wisdom characteristics that you wanted to include in your development of model? So actually, based on Prof. Samsul's question, is it the development of the model, or is it the model for the development? You have answered that. It's the development for the model of the portable lab. Okay. But where exactly do you include the local wisdom characteristics? So in my mind, I thought you are developing a conceptual model that includes these local wisdom characteristics. So that's my concern actually. So how exactly are you going to include the characteristics of the local wisdom?
How?
Okay, first of all, what are the characteristics of the local wisdom that you wanted to include in your portable lab?
In my opinion, local wisdom is a kind of the social contact. Maybe can be culture, and then can be maybe toy store and another. So I am using the general of local wisdom to integrate in my model.
Okay.
Dr. Siti?
Yes.
First and foremost, I think this is actually I've read the proposal. I think the presentation slide is a summary of the proposal that you email, right? The PDF. So the PDF is more detailed, right, Rudy?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, I think this is there is the nitty-gritty of the title, but it's not just about the title, okay, because basically based on my reading, okay, because actually the term local wisdom is actually something new to me, okay, admittedly. So I do some research, Okay, so it seems first and foremost, okay, the concept of local wisdom is 100% Indonesian. Is 100% Indonesian. Okay, so basically, the term itself is 100% Indonesian. You go to other other literature. Actually, the concept of local wisdom is they are using like a cultural influence, you know, the environment and so on. But that is referring to the content. To the content. For example, let's say that if I am teaching a particular course, okay, doesn't mean okay, let's say physics. Okay, you are focusing on physics. Okay, so basically, what we do is actually we try to actually when we try to introduce one concept in this particular course. Okay, let's say the concept of one example, velocity. Velocity is a physics concept. Okay, so what many educators do is that they try to relate the concept of velocity to something that is familiar to the people or to the students within the society. So meaning that there is a relationship between cultural or some common norm within that particular society, okay, and the science concept that is trying to deliver. So that the purpose is that for so that it is easier for, let's say, the students to understand that particular concept with something that is familiar to them. Okay, now my concern is that your PhD is PhD in IT. Now, if you go into the concept that I suggest just now, okay, actually in many literatures, they do not use the term local wisdom. My bachelor's degree is in education, so I do know about this. It has been a long concept. It's not used as local wisdom, but it's just there are many terms. But the point is that you are referring to the content of the material. Okay, now the content of the material is educational. It relates to education. Okay, now it does not relate to the technology. So although there is a need to integrate between the content which is education and the technology, which is the instructional technology, PhD in IT, right?
Yeah,
but
okay.
the focus of local wisdom itself is the adaptation of the content to something that is familiar to the society, which is that goes into the scope, the domain area of education. So if, for example, now you are actually taking this, we are going to award you PhD in education and perhaps focusing in instructional technology. That would be very relevant. But my concern now is this is PhD in IT. So meaning that your contribution must focus, okay, on the technology part itself. Okay, the technology part itself or things that are related to the technology. So this is where you where you need the model and so on. So meaning that the model on how the technology can be sort of identified in such a way, in such a configuration that it can be adapted to many different environment. So in terms of the content, it does not matter because we are not focusing on the content itself, because basically if you have a model for portable laboratory, okay, whether it has local wisdom integrated or it does not have local wisdom integrated, the model is still for the portable laboratory because the local wisdom is related to the content, not the technical part. So my actually concern or something that we need to resolve is that having local wisdom or not having local wisdom should not change the model, because local wisdom is related to the content, not related to the technology itself. So do you understand me?
Okay, I get it. The local wisdom is not based on the Professor Samsul. Local wisdom is not the part of technology. Local wisdom is just a content. So the integrated is local wisdom is can be the model can be same without and using local wisdom or without local wisdom.
Yes, because if you Google, if you look for, I see that many articles that has been published, okay, related to local wisdom. One, it comes from Indonesia. Because secondly, it's all in conferences and journals related to education. It's nothing to do with instructional technology. Okay, Dr. Siti Harani, you may want to add. This is my view.
Yeah, to me, since he put the local wisdom in his title, so people might get an impression that the model for portable lab would be different with and without local wisdom, because he's emphasizing local wisdom in his title. So if that's so, my advice to you, Rudy, is to translate this local wisdom characteristics. I know you've got one table, local wisdom, that is being translated into the physics concept. Maybe you should translate that and integrate it in your model, and so that you can validate your model. Okay, then only you can have this title. So if it's the same with and without local wisdom, so maybe you should not put local wisdom in the title. Okay, do you get me?
Okay, I must translate the local wisdom.
The physics concept of the local wisdom. Translate that somehow in your model. If you can do that.
Sorry, Dr. Siti Haryani. Can
Yes.
I mind the local wisdom can be some the part of social contact?
Physics concept.
Basic concept.
Yes, there's one table that you highlight. On the left side is the local wisdom, and the left side is the physics concept that uses the local wisdom.
That is the application. That is application of local wisdom. So basically,
So
when you have a PhD research, okay, PhD research actually what is your contribution is first is contribution to knowledge, meaning that you have to come up with a new model. Okay, it's a new model. So significant contribution. Okay, a new model. Okay, in terms of what concept that is suitable to be incorporated with local wisdom, that is the application. That is the application. And the application actually can be changed. So within a PhD research, application is, you can say that that is a proof of concept whereby you have a model, and you actually try to apply using you do some development. Actually, you do not have to do the development yourself. You can actually get undergraduate students, okay, to do it for you. So that is because that part the application itself, you know, whereby you use the Arduino, you actually link that to the computers and so on. That is not the part that contributes to your PhD. That is the application of the concept that you actually that you come up with. So meaning that you have the concept, your concept is the model itself. The model itself, and then you want to show that this model is actually workable. It is something that can actually achieve whatever objectives that you highlight in this research by developing an instant, some example of, for example, application, or like the term that you use, a lab, a portable lab using different technologies, and to show that the application of this actually meets or follows the concept that has been highlighted by the model itself. Now, your PhD is the model. Okay, not the application. So if you can come up something that is very good, very beneficial, meaning that, for example, you want to actually, like just now, the kapal otot-otot, the boat, right? The boat that you experiment that, although that is beneficial, but it by itself does not mean anything to this PhD research if the model itself is not unique, significant, okay, and also it can fulfill all the objectives that you highlighted. So meaning that, okay, now what we see, just as a whole, we don't see any in the literature. We don't see much of a model. First and foremost, actually, sometimes this portable lab, sometimes they use the different terms. We have virtual lab, okay. One of my undergraduate students' project is also a virtual lab, okay, basically, but it does not based on any model. But basically, we do not see in your presentation, in your proposal, any existing model on portable lab, on virtual lab. May not be portable, but in terms of computer-based learning in CBL, okay, you have this experiment, virtual experiment using IT as an enabler or as a supplement or as a replacement. So basically, we do not see that you actually review the different models that exist in the literature and what are the weaknesses of these models to the extent that you think that you need to actually have a different model. So what's wrong with existing models? So this is basically in general, so what I see as a whole for the presentation. And even actually when you covered local wisdom, there are actually there are some integrated model for local wisdom. Okay, there are several models, okay, of local wisdom to integrate in the science education, which you do not review in this particular proposal. So basically, what I see is that your focus a lot on the application rather than the model itself. So basically, this is as a whole, because now actually I haven't gone into detail, but this is actually just as a whole, just looking at the title. Dr. Siti, eh?
I get that, Dr. Samsul.
Agree, Dr. Samsul.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't see it, because
because
apparently there's a model of local wisdom. Rudy should highlight that.
Yeah. Rudy, have you read this model? There is a paper, integration of local wisdom in science learning. Okay, this is actually, the authors are Indonesian, all Indonesians, from the UIN Sunan Gunung Jati. Okay, so Universitas 11 April Universitas Riau, okay, and so on, whereby actually they actually suggested, even there are two types of local wisdom, like scientific local wisdom, non-scientific local wisdom, and there are models such as adaptation model, addition model, correction model, and neglected model. So these all models are related to the integration of science learning with local wisdom. So have you read this particular paper? The paper is in 2017.
I don't read about this.
So basically, I would suggest for you to look for, because I think when I Google, these are just few papers that come up with. So basically, it's just Google. Okay, so basically, lots of citation. So basically, what I'm seeing here in your proposal is that there is really a lack of model, lack of literature that discusses about the different models that represent a similar concept of the lab, the computer lab. So this is like the virtual lab. There are different terms, but the concepts are the same. Okay. There are many elements of, so like Dr. Siti Hani highlighted just now, even in the model of the lab itself, okay, whether it's portable or not, there are many elements, and within the elements, there are relationships, there are interaction between elements. So this is in the literature. So I'm highlighting this because I know, because this is part of the when I involved. Actually, I started involved in this kind of virtual lab starting from 1998. So it has been a long time for me. It's like over 20 years doing this. Okay, so actually there are models on what represent this, like a virtual experiment and so on, because this is in the lab, it's experimental. Okay, and it relates to science, chemistry, physics, okay, biology. Okay, and secondly, I see that I do think, okay, okay, sorry, this is, let me silence this first. Okay, so basically, and secondly, although I do think that the local wisdom is more of related to the selection of content rather than the model for the virtual experiment or the portable lab itself. Because when you say portable lab, it's more of towards the technology, okay? Technology and how you execute the technology rather than the content. But even if I agree that this local wisdom is part of the model, you want to integrate between these two, similar to the diagram that you show, there is a combination. Okay, you haven't actually offer much about the different models related to local wisdom itself in this is presentation. So basically this is what I would like to highlight within the title. And of course, you don't use with, because when you use with in the title, with is something that is like something that is not important. It's like an addition. So in the title, we don't use with. So either the local wisdom is solidly integrated within the model itself, okay, or it is not. So with is like an attachment. Okay, with is like attachment, meaning that an attachment, you can take this out. So this still works. Okay, so basically what you need to decide with the supervisor, okay, you have to discuss is that whether you think that you want to have the local wisdom part, which is I think is the content part, to be integrated with the model that relates to the technology, how the technology integrate with each other, and how the technology is going to be executed. So do you want to integrate the content and that? So basically, this is the discussion that I will not say this is right or wrong, but this is something that you should discuss with the supervisors, because at the end of the day, okay, it cannot be like a width. A width is something that we can separate. If you want to have this, it must be ingrained. So meaning that there is a difference between a model for just a portable lab without local wisdom integrated, and the ones with the integrated local wisdom, there must be clear differences, okay, between within your model. Okay, so Dr. Siti Haryani, for the title, I'm done with the title.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Prof.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you really need to take a look at the
Yes.
term.
Yes. Okay, Rudy. Rudy, can we go to the slides where we have the content itself, the literature introduction. Say the after the introduction. Okay, so basically, okay. Now, first and foremost, it is okay. Can you go back to the ones that you have the Venn diagram with the this one? Okay, so basically, is this in your proposal that you given in the PDF?
No. There is my addition and presentation.
So meaning that the in the PDF is not similar to what you are presenting.
Similar, but I am addition some data and so on in the presentation.
Okay. So, I would like to highlight this is a learning process to you. So hopefully you can improve. Okay, first and foremost, okay, you have to be very you have to be very particular about the literature that you choose to include as a support for your research. Because I see here, for example, let's say that you have this is it Katili? So this is 2013. 2013 and until now, this 8 years. 8 years. So technology wise, okay, 8 years is a long time. So things change. Okay, for example, even if you see that this working from home or study from home, if you go back 3 years back before the pandemic, it's totally different because of technology changes very fast. So what I'm highlighting is that you should actually try to look for literature that is as current as possible. Remember that when you later on for your Viva, PhD Viva, let's say that your PhD Viva, let's say you can complete everything in 4 years for PhD Viva, 4 years, let's say give and take 4 years. Perhaps this will be like 2 years in the future. 2000, let's say your Viva will be 2023. 2023. So if 2023, this literature is 10 years old. Now, for technology, for implementation of technology, okay, in terms of what is the current situation of the technology, okay, we are looking for 5 years maximum. 5 years. So if you go 10 years, And remember, when we read the paper, these 10 years, this is published in 2013. The data is maybe in 2010. You see? So meaning that there is a long duration gap that what is being reported here may not be current by the time that you are presenting your PhD viva. So these are the things that I'm concerned, because I see that in the PDF, there are lots of dated references. It's meaning that more than 5 years. Remember, more than 5 years today, but your viva will be in 2 or 3 years time. Okay, so that will be a longer time. Okay, secondly, okay, you also actually included some references that are not published actually. For example, a PhD candidate thesis. There is, you actually cite quite a few places from somebody else's PhD thesis. Now, PhD thesis is not published. It is archived. It is archived within that particular institution. So if you think that you want to actually refer to some of the work, okay, some of the results from that particular PhD candidate who has perhaps has passed the PhD, you should be looking for the papers that has been published by her. Okay, published in journals and so on, rather than referring directly to the PhD. So because, for example, one thing that I see that you use a lot of microcomputer based learning based on this candidate, perhaps some papers. And when I downloaded the papers, actually the terms actually, although it is like in 2011 and so on, but it refers to another literature which is in 2001 and in 1995, sort of something like that. So basically, what happens now in your proposal, and perhaps the terms that you use, it becomes outdated, because nowadays people do not use the term microcomputers. Actually microcomputers actually is starting from 1970s and perhaps early 2000. Okay, that is people use, but currently, you know, you don't use like microcomputer based learning. Sometimes people just use computer based learning, because now you are using different technology equipment. So that my highlight is that you have to look for the terms, okay, the literature. So my advice is try to actually look for something that is most current. Okay, most current, because some of the things that you highlighted is quite outdated in a way. It's very outdated actually. For example, nowadays when you look for 2012, you know, this one. So although the literature is quite new, but if you go into the papers itself, it is based on something that is older than this. So you have to be careful and so on. Okay. For example, now I see that, this is the framework. So on the left, this is the framework. Okay, on the right, the figure 1 and figure 2, this is just actually a diagram showing that how you want to set up the equipment. So basically, your contribution, if for the PhD, when you talk about model, would be more similar to something on the left rather on the right. Do you get me?
Okay.
So this is an example of of a model, but this is not actually a good model, because when you have a model, it does not just highlight the elements inside, but the model must be able to display how does each element within the models interact with each other. Okay, interact with each other, because now there is the components, but we do not see any interaction. So basically, you see, this is not the ones given here. This is not a good framework and so on. Okay, so basically this is like, here this is more on, this is just the process. So basically you really need to actually study. So example of the different models that you want to highlight. Okay, so basically on the literature, because we are covering the introduction, you covered a lot of literature in the introduction. So my comment is just you need to look for a dated, actually it must be current. Okay, the literature must be current. Should not take from any thesis. It must be published. Okay.
Okay.
And you must learn how to do a systematic literature review, because
Okay.
when I highlight to you certain things and you are not aware, it shows that you lack the systematic review. Because so within one day, I have identified some models that you are not aware of. So basically, that is something that you should look into. Okay, Dr. Siti?
Yes, I would like to add that in your literature review, you should have more on the gaps of knowledge in the portable lab models. Okay, the gaps of knowledge, and in your problem statement, I believe you you provide problems of the high school students, whereas in your data collection, you collected data from the university students, and that didn't match. So if you wanted to highlight students' problems, maybe more towards the university students, include more university students. And since you are developing a model, in your validation, you should validate the model, okay? And not so much on the student satisfaction, not so much on student characteristics. So find out more literature on that, how to validate the model itself.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think even in the problem statement, in the PDF, you contradict yourself. There are some things. Okay, for example, can we have a look at the problem statement?
In presentation or in PDF?
Okay, is that the problem statement in the presentation? Because I remember in the PDF actually, because that is the base. Okay, so basically, if you look into problem statement, so because basically when we have a PhD research, one of the things that is important, one criteria, is that the problem is significant. And what you are trying to actually come up with, this research, is to solve that significant problem. For example, I think that there is the terms of, I think it is given in your PDF. It says that infrastructure is not actually a problem, right? There is in
Okay.
Indonesia, right?
Right.
Do you remember somewhere?
Yes.
You say that there is a
maybe
citation.
Sorry,
Say that
maybe Rudy, you can share the statement in your PDF so it can be clearer for everybody. sorry, Prof. You can.
Yes. Because now it seems that okay. I think just as a credit to Rudy, actually he adds a lot in the proposal defense, which I'm happy to have this detail. Okay, because sometimes based on previous experience, okay, even some PhD candidate or postgraduate candidate gives me like a measly 2 or 3 page proposal defense. But now, credit to you that there is a lot of things that you add, which is a very good thing. Okay, there is somewhere in your PDF saying that infrastructure is actually not an issue. Okay, it's not an issue. Okay, I see. The biggest obstacle to effective teaching of physics was not the lack of necessary lab facilities and infrastructure, but the lack of use. So meaning that when you try to highlight, okay, the use of this portable lab, okay, portable lab,
Okay.
as a perhaps as a supplement to existing physical labs, perhaps for example in Malaysia there are perhaps some issues whereby in rural areas, okay, perhaps there are some things that are not complete. The lab, for example, if there's chemistry lab, there are some chemical things that is not enough, or so on. So there is a limited access to infrastructure. So that's why you have this virtual experiment or portable lab comes to play as a supplement. Okay, but now based on this particular statement, okay, the lab and infrastructure facilities are there. And the problem is that it's lack of use. It's not because it's not enough. So basically this statement does not help you to convince us that there is a need to this for this portable lab. Because if you ask me, if the lab is there and it is underutilized, then what we should think of is more of how to get the students to utilize the labs, because it is underutilized. This is underutilization. So there's no need actually for this portable lab. A real lab is better than portable lab. So that is one thing of the issues here. So perhaps you want to comment on this, Rudy?
I think the portable lab is can be supplement to solution about lack of use. Because based on my presentation, I refer that the region and the low intensity of the using of laboratory is about the practicum tool, and then not knock time, and then teacher lack creativity in compiling practicum design and development equipment, and then portable laboratory can be combined in the classroom, so the teacher can be explain the theory, and then student can be do practicum, so the time is more effective.
But the real lab is underutilized, meaning that it's not being used sufficiently, right?
Okay, the lab is already, but the intensity is low. The intensity of using is low.
Meaning that the physical lab, when the intensity of using lab is low, is not being used. It's underutilized. So if I as an in education, I would try to manage some scheduling, okay, for the students, with let's say in the school, in secondary, in high school, especially okay, physics in high school, okay, so that they can have some additional sessions for them to be able to use the labs under the guidance of some teacher or perhaps some lab assistant, rather than to come up with another portable lab, which is actually a portable lab is not the real thing. This is something that is a sort of something that represents the real thing. But in the physical lab, we have various experiments that we can do, real things. But the concern now is that in your literature, you highlighted that this is underutilized. So meaning that the real lab is underutilized. So I do not think that there is a necessity to come up with a portable lab. If even the real lab is not being used, I do not see how this portable lab can play a significant role. Okay, so that to enhance or to improve the learning outcomes. So that this I'm talking as an educator because I am a physics and chemistry teacher. I know I do labs, okay, at the early part of my career. So this is what I do. So basically, it's not about some replacement. So my recommendation, okay, please do not include the literature that suggests that there is no problem with the infrastructure, because if you do so, okay, if you include something like that, there's no problem. Then the importance and significance of what you are trying to do has been reduced significantly. So when something is not that significant, the contribution is also not significant. So is it, and there will be a question mark among the examiners later on during the viva. So if you do not do this, so what? Then you are in trouble. So Dr. Siti, so this is my views on this.
Yes, totally agree.
Thank you.
And Rudy, you need to find out more problems on the physical lab. Maybe there are too many students and the physical lab is not enough. Find more literatures on that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Siti.
So Rudy, I think that what you should focus on your problem statement is basically is that, for example, I give you one example. It's not that, oh, what I'm saying now is true. It's just an example, assuming that what I say is true. Okay. So like, for example, let's say, now people, let's say developers are developing many of these virtual experiments. I'm using the term virtual experiment because this is the term that I use in my previous publications. Okay, we call virtual experiments. Okay, and we are talking about science experiments. Okay, so basically, many of the developers. Okay, basically, the model, because when we do the development, many of us actually try to develop based on what we think is right. There's no proper model in terms of how to put all the elements together. For example, let's say I give you an example of experience. This is part of undergraduate students. I'm going to share with you. Okay. Okay. There are elements such as simulation, exploration, simulation, interactivity. Okay. Modeling, calculation, and so on. So basically, example, these are the elements within a model for you to be able to actually create a virtual science experiment. Okay, now this is a model. So basically, what you should emphasize, okay, within your PhD research is that currently the existing models for this portable lab, okay, is not good.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
effective. It's difficult. Okay, it's not comprehensive enough. Meaning that all the negative things that you find. Okay, and what you are trying to come up with now is that a different model, so that this model for portable lab would be better. So meaning that better in the sense that when actually, let's say you created the model and I as a developer, okay, look into your model. Oh, there are this element, this element, this element. So I can actually understand from the model and I can visualize how to use the model, the information in your model for me to be able to create a virtual experiment, or in the way that you have put it in your research, this portable experiment or portable lab, which is more effective, which is much better than what we have in the market currently. So this is actually the problem statement. So the problem statement is not about, students are not using that and so on. So basically, it's not about that. Okay. Of course, in the introduction, you can add, meaning that, okay, there is, for example, labs. In Indonesia, there are so many students, and the ratio for the students lab ratio is very small. So meaning that so many students, but not enough lab to go around, and physical lab is expensive. Perhaps you can come up with this portable lab, which is that includes these virtual experiments as a supplement, as a solution to supplement the existing physical lab, if that is the case. But that also is just, for example, in the introduction, okay, in introduction, whereby that is the background. You see, this is the situation in Indonesia. Okay, I know that in the island of Java, there are like more than 100 million. I do not know. So there are so many people. 100 million, is it? 80 million. Even Jakarta also, I heard like 60 million. So there's a lot of people. So basically, there's not enough physical infrastructure, for example. So that is the background. We know, oh, this is important. Okay. So now, if you put something like that, it just gives us, to the evaluators, we see that, oh, this is important issue that you want to address in your country. Okay, because of course, it's sometimes physical lab is expensive. Okay, expensive. You cannot have everywhere. Okay, especially if you go to like Kalimantan and so on, near the border of Malaysia, you see that there is a big problem, right? Or you go to Irian, Papua Barat, yeah. Okay, there is a big problem. Okay, that does not constitute the problem statement. That is just the background. You know that this is important for you to adjust. But the problem statement must be like existing model is not good enough. It's not good enough, or perhaps you say that there's no model. There's no model. People are developing based on their ideas without any guidance. There's no model. So I want to come up with a model, for example. These are the things that can you put into the problem statement. And when there is a model like Dr. Siti Harani highlighted just now, it goes to the gap. Gap means that what people have done with regard to the model, not with regard to the actual lab, but with regard to the model. And this is where you want to fill in. So where is the gap? So is the gap large enough so that it becomes significant contribution? Because if the gap is very small, okay, you have existing model, you just add a small element such as, for example, let's say you have a model for portable lab, existing model, which is okay. And then you add this local wisdom, which is actually, so the question mark is that how significant is this addition in the model? So if this is just an addition, not something that change things inside the existing model, that cannot be significant. It can be significant if the local wisdom, when you integrate within the existing portable lab model, changes significantly the portable lab model itself. You see, there is not, it's not just an addition and this one. This is like, it changed everything. Okay, similar to like, you can see that the teaching and learning techniques before pandemic and during pandemic, you see, things change significantly to the extent that everything, almost everything we do needs to change. So we need to have a model. How do we have a model of teaching and learning in the pandemic where students are all at home, the teachers are all at home? So what do you do? So meaning that everything changed significantly. So that is significant contribution. But if this is just like something, okay, the existing model is there. Okay, I'm just going to add this component. Pop, just attach a little bit of integration here. Okay, perhaps that may be suitable for a master's level. But for a PhD, no. It must be a significant difference within that. Okay, so what I would like you to do, I think I like your topics, okay, the topic. So I think this can have a very good potential, but you really need to focus on one thing is that, remember, your PhD is PhD in IT, okay, not PhD in education. Okay, PhD in education, you have PhD in IT. So your focus should be the IT part. The IT part. IT can be not just the technology in terms of how it can be configured, the how do you configure everything, and secondly, okay, the adoption. How do you apply? So how do you apply? It's not development of application. No, how do you apply the elements of the model in the real situation? This is what we call the operationalization of the model. So when you operationalize the model by including tools can be application, can be software, different IT components, that would be part of your framework. So now you have a framework. A model normally is conceptual in nature. So you add a framework. When you add the operationalization of the model into something that is tangible, and you detail out instruments and so on, tools and so on, that becomes a framework. And when it is being developed as a prototype, that becomes proof of concept. So, but basically, the most important thing that is important to you now is actually the model itself. That you have to start from there. So, and of course, you need to justify, okay, to show that existing models, if they exist, it's not good enough. Okay, it's not good enough. Okay, so basically, Dr. Siti, so you perhaps you want to add?
I believe if Rudy is clear on what needs to be done, the problem statement need to be changed and focus on the model itself, then this would be a very interesting topic, actually.
Yes.
And of course, research question need to be changed. No more students' characteristics. Okay, and the validation part, focus on the model.
Don't focus on application. Do not focus on the application. Okay, so in the methodology, no need to mention that it's ADDIE, because ADDIE is more of to develop the proof of concept. What you actually need to do is to focus on actually how do you come up with the model itself? How do you validate the model? That is the main thing. And of course, after you have developed the model, you want to show that the model can be operationalized until to the extent that there is proof of concept. So how do you actually take steps to actually ensure that things are happening? how do you achieve that? So that are the things that you want to include in the research methodology. Okay, it's not about development cycle like requirements, okay, design, development, testing. No. You even in PhD, you don't include that. It's just one section only. Just say that, okay, this one, we develop this one. We just roughly, okay, we do at the end, so on. And sometimes, you do not need to develop on your own. You can actually take some undergraduate students or some to do this as their final year project. Okay, what's important? Yeah, because that one, not everything that you need to do, because that is not the level of a PhD. So you have to be very clear on the parts. Okay, so of course, if I am to go very details, there's a lot. It will be like 2 hours for additional, which I do not waste. I do not want to waste Dr. Nizam's time because he is deputy dean, very busy on many things. But I think something that you should discuss with Dr. Nizam, Dr. Adida on this. Okay, it's not easy to get a PhD title, but you have to be very patient. Do not give up. So I'm encouraging you. Almost everyone face the same problem. Do not worry, Rudy Zanto. Okay, so that's why we are here. The evaluators are here to help you, but we help you in terms of we give comments. We give comments. So we do think that your focus, actually the scope of your research, there is good potential. But what we are highlighting is that these are the missing things, or the things that not really that if you go forward based on what you plan, you will be in big trouble. So this is what we are trying to highlight. Okay, so that is just a whole. Of course, when things change, there are many things that you need to change. You have to look back into this. Okay, Dr. Siti. So I think I'm done with this, just as a whole. Perhaps you want to add?
Yeah, in overall, I think Rudy is doing quite well. Okay, there's lots of things, but he need to be more focused. Okay, stay in the scope, and do the rewriting. Okay, make it clear.
Thank you, Dr. Siti.
Okay, Dr. Abdul Halim. So I think that is our review of everything.
Right, thank you very much for this detailed comments and discussion on Rudy's proposal. And I believe that the picture is now more clear for Rudy. What are the missing parts? What are the things that he has to improve? And of course, as Prof mentioned, this is not should not be treated as an assessment per se. It's more like a guidance session. You will have to see all of those comments as something valuable and positive way of thinking for you to improve your work, so that in future when you go to Viva, hopefully you will be prepared for those kind of questions, and maybe you will not face them because you already fixed all of those problems that you have in your proposal. And as Prof mentioned, this is the same thing that happens to everybody going through PhD, and I believe that it's a healthy thing. Can we just open the floor for Dr. Nizam if he wants to add anything or to have any comments? Otherwise, we can end up the session. Dr. Nizam?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Alim. Okay, first of all, thank you very much to Prof. Samsul and Dr. Haryani. It was a very good input from both of you, really great. So I think both of you are really the most suitable person to evaluate this kind of topic. Okay, actually me and Rodi and Dr. Adida, it's all up to. Actually, Rudy is very good student in the sense of commitment. Yeah? So I like that. So of course, whatever you comment is true, and on the part of technology, we try our very best to make the technology part as the main contribution. But of course, we don't have enough head to think about that. So I think this input is very valuable. And then, yeah, so thank you very much. So the supervisory team and Rudy will look back again, and perhaps we can improve the proposal. Thank you very much, darling. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nizam. Co-supervisor, Associate Prof. Dr. Adida, anything you want to add?
Okay, I think Rudy have to do a lot of things, and I have already comment in the proposal, in fact, and have also to look back on the objective to make align to the new topics. And thank you very much for Prof. Sam and Dr. Siti Haryani, very energetic in giving the opinion, and thank you very much.
All right, then. Thank you all of you. Just to mention to Rudy, you can download the video after we finish this session. All right. It will stay there, I think, for maybe 15 days or something. It's a limited period of time, so I prefer if you download it like 5 minutes after we finish the session. Your result will be published when we receive the written feedback from your assessors, and hopefully it will be within 1 week, inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
I think if we
Dr.
already
Galip,
have
before we go, after before we leave, after Rudy and the supervisors have left, can we have like discussion between Dr. Siti Haryani and yourself? Just at least you have the ideas. But basically, I do not think that you need to present again. But what you need to do is more of, okay, just take the comments, try to work with the supervisors to improve your journey, because basically I think that you have done a lot of work, which is congratulations to you. So I enjoy actually reading your work. Just basically what we are trying to do is just to correct the navigation. Okay. So Mama, just actually to mention to you, I'm not sure with Dr. Siti Haryani, but my view is that no need for another presentation of proposal, because basically this is a process whereby you need to actually go back to the literature and so on. It will take some time for you to actually to find suitable things, because there are like changes in terms of the focus of your research. Will actually definitely will take like any time between like 3 months or so at least. So basically my view is that, Dr. Abdul Alim, I'm giving my verdict now. My view is that I do not think that you need to present again the proposal defense, but what you need to do is to work with the supervisors to correct whatever that needs to be corrected. So that's my view, Dr. Abdul Alim.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Yeah, thank you for the comments and for your final decision now. If you want, as assessors, to discuss and to come out with a final decision among you, we can do that after we finish the session and stop the recording. But this is optional. You can come out with your own decision and submit it on paper, and then I will put the decision on the online system later on.
Yeah,
but
because
if you want...
sometimes after 2 days I will forget about everything.
Okay.
So that's why I want to give the decision now.
All right. Then
Okay.
then I prefer to stop the recording now and end up the session and start a new session between Siti Haryani, Dr. Siti Haryani and Prof. Shamsul and me, so we can come out with the decision.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Alim. Thank you, Prof. Sam. Then thank you, Dr. Siti.